Beer and wine in corner stores, a long-time promise in Ontario politics going back decades, but it's not one that any government decided to act on until now. Of course, you've heard that Ontario Premier Doug Ford has opened up the market, or will by 2026. We're going to have beer and wine in convenience stores across the province, in grocery stores, big box stores, along with what we are now learning a new term, ready to drink beverages. We're talking about seltzers. We're talking about coolers, things like Vizzy and the like. All of that coming soon to a store near you. What does this mean for the industry? What does this mean for the consumer? How does Ontario compare, or will Ontario compare to the rest of the country? Anne Kothawala is the president and CEO of the Convenience Industry Council of Canada. Joins me now to talk about this. And I guess I should say congratulations to you and your members. This is something that you guys have been working at for a long time. Um, did you think this day would ever come?
Well, I was always optimistic, Brian, because you have to be optimistic on these things. Absolutely. We are delighted as an industry. We have been working hard at this for a long time. And, we're delighted to see that the government has recognized they promised it. They wanted to bring more choice and convenience to Ontarians, and they're going to be doing just that with this move.
Now, there's obviously, I think most people have accepted it well. It's not as controversial as it might have been a few years ago. I remember when previous governments or parties raised this issue, there would be a hue and cry about safety. That seems rather muted now, doesn't it? I'm not hearing the protests that this will somehow destroy society.
No, that's absolutely right. And again, we look at Quebec, and they've been doing this successfully for decades. So I think whenever we have these issues that are raised, it's like, let's look at the facts. Let's look at the research that's out there. Let's look at the experience. And the experience has been very good. And as you raise, I mean, again, during the pandemic, the government rightfully brought in some measures so that restaurants could have bottle shops. You can buy beer at farmers markets. There are many places that you can buy beverage alcohol in Ontario. And now we're just going to have a few more convenient places that you can buy beverage alcohol.
What was the change on price? Because that's been something that's been discussed before. Is people who are critical of the idea would say, well, they're just going to only stock the big brands and they're going to charge way more. And I'm thinking, okay, well, you haven't left the province then, because I'm looking forward to a big sale. I'm looking forward to that loss leader that gets me in the door. Ontario's had uniform pricing. Walk me through on what will be allowed, what won't be allowed when these changes take effect.
Well, and I think, pricing and margins is still the piece to, there's still some work to be done. And I think that's partly why, come January 15th, you're not going to see beverage alcohol in convenience stores quite yet, because there is some work to be done on pricing. So yes, there are sort of two pieces to it. One is the uniform pricing, and that has been something that has been in place. And we're delighted
That
that.
means regardless of where the beverage alcohol is sold, has to be the same price. If the wine rack puts their wine on sale, it's got to be the same price at the LCBO, right?
Correct. And it also has to be the same price whether you buy a can of beer in downtown Toronto or a can of beer in North Bay. It needs to be the same price. So that used to be what was in place. So the only retailer that will have to abide by uniform pricing to address that sort of regional issue, if you will, is the LCBO.
Okay.
However, other retailers will not have to engage in uniform pricing. But the other piece of pricing, and again, if you look at Quebec, we want to make sure that, for example, our convenience stores that are operating close to in the sort of Ottawa area, close to the Quebec border, that you don't have Ontarians still crossing the border to buy cheaper beer in Quebec. So, part of this is that we have to make sure that there is margin there, so that it makes economic sense for our members to be able to sell the product.
Yeah, well, I remember, you walk into a couche-tard and it might be a couche-tard is what the same brand as Max Milk and Circle K in Quebec, and they would have stuff on sale. They would have a loss leader to get you in, and that is something that hasn't been allowed in Ontario. As you say, you've got to deal with some issues. I know there's a tax issue. The grocers right now pay I believe it's works out to $6.04 on the equivalent of a case of 24 standard 355 mil cans, but that's not charged at the beer store. And I know there's concern about that being charged to your members, basically an LCBO wholesale tax when they don't even touch the beer.
Correct. And that is a big issue that is going to have to be resolved, obviously. So again, it's all about what's the wholesale price going to be. And as convenience stores, we're basically saying to government and other stakeholders, listen, in order for this to work for us, we have to be able to make money selling the product. And the ability to make money shouldn't be just the quote unquote premium on convenience that
Mm.
we should be able to charge. So if a can of beer is $3 at the LCBO or the beer store, we're not going to sell that can of beer for 4.50 because, at a certain point the consumer is going to say, well, it's, yeah, maybe it's a little bit more convenient, but I'm not going to put that much of a premium on convenience.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about how the rest of the country looks. Obviously, Quebec is already in the position that Ontario is moving to, but I was surprised at the number of radio stations and different media outlets that reached out to me after this announcement by the Ford government in different parts of the country, in British Columbia and Saskatchewan and elsewhere. Uh, we have very different retailing options across the country and how alcohol is sold. Is there anywhere else that has the convenience store angle yet, or is moving in that direction?
Well, so as you say, Quebec obviously has been the leader there. Hopefully, Ontario happening very soon. Newfoundland, you can buy beer in convenience stores in Newfoundland. And where we're seeing the most interest and optimism in terms of sort of taking a page from Ontario, whereby we do think there is going to be a bit of a domino effect here, and that province would be Nova Scotia. We've had several conversations with the Nova Scotia government, with the Premier Houston, and we're optimistic because again, I think they see this as a real opportunity, just as Ontario does, to really help the local craft producers. And as you may know, in Nova Scotia, there's quite a few craft producers, whether that's beer or cider. It's a real growing industry. And we think convenience stores can help because we can provide them with the economies of scale and more points of sale than they currently have.
Okay, so could be coming to a different region near you in the near future. And thanks very much for the time today. And again, congratulations to you and your members. And I'm looking forward to this convenience and the sales when it happens.
Thank you so much.
All right, let us know what you think about these changes. Drop a comment down below, share this on social media, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.